Markets and malls across Pakistan are open and brimming with people as lockdown eases. But schools, colleges, and universities remain deserted and show no sign of reopening soon. My name is Adnan Jaffrey, and welcome to my channel. Hear me out. We're talking about education, the way forward. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you keep hearing more and more from me. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted lives and institutions across the globe. From global disruptions in production to supply chains to an era of work and study from home, our lives are shifting towards a new unknown. The education sector is no different, having been one of the most severely impacted, with schools and universities across the world shutting their doors in line with social distancing as recommended by World Health Organization. The education institutions across Pakistan may be closed for students, but many of them have adopted an online approach to education. The online route may seem very easy and simple at first, but it comes with its own challenges. The education institution needs to take into consideration the following challenges before going online. Firstly, we have the problem of availability of internet connection. Schools, colleges, and universities need to understand this, that students come from every nook and corner of the country, and many students may not have internet connection available at their residence. Students living in the cities should consider themselves fortunate enough to have high speed internet connections at their disposal. But many students come from remote areas where internet connection is hard to find. The second problem is that distance learning requires high speed internet connection. When you have 30 to 40 students joined in on a single connection over Zoom or Skype, you need high speed internet data. Universities might have that kind of bandwidth on their internet connection, but what about schools, colleges that have not made it that big and are struggling for funds and finances? And what about students who do not have that high speed internet connection? And then there are these power outages that happen so very often that makes this online education pretty unreliable. And what about giving practical exposure to students? The education institutions haven't really figured out how to implement practicals in this online education. So, when I was appearing for my O levels, there was something called as an ATP examination, alternate to practical examination. So, this is a paper from October November 2018. And if you go down, you see that the question is in the form of a scenario, followed by some questions. Then there is another scenario here, followed by the questions. And then there's this graph. This is one way of providing some sort of exposure to students and also keeping them away from school. Grading and evaluation is another challenge for all education institutions that opt for this online classes. Most universities have a fully functioning portal that can implement evaluation and grading for all its students. Small schools and colleges, however, may opt for a different approach because the whole portal thing can be very expensive. Google Classroom could be a cheaper alternative for a portal system for small schools and colleges. Google Forms are pretty effective in assessing students' performances. Lastly, we need faculty members who are tech savvy and smart enough to handle the millennial generation. We have some very nice digital platforms available for online education and learning. Google Suite is probably the best. So if you're word processing as a student, you have access to Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. Once done, Students can then upload it on their Google Drives and they can share it with their peers and their teachers. Teachers could take full advantage of the very powerful Zoom and Skype softwares for video conferencing with their students and management with their staff members. For assessments, Google Forms could prove to be very powerful and useful. Grading and managing couldn't get any simpler than this. Universities are all set for this online paradigm shift. From an undergraduate and graduate student's perspective, things are a bit easier when it comes to managing online classes as compared to students who are not that mature enough. Teachers teaching in high schools and colleges have to go the extra mile with each and every student when it comes to online learning. Young children need to be monitored, therefore, parents will have to play their part in monitoring their online activities. Technical institutions and schools need to figure out a way of how to impart practical exposure and knowledge to their students. Not all classrooms have four walls. Learning can happen any place, anytime. So it might as well be on your computer screens. This pandemic is a great opportunity to do things differently and to learn things differently. And that, in my opinion, is the way forward. If you like my videos, please give a thumbs up and subscribe.